Hello, everyone. Welcome to BitGate Investor Day. I'm your host. My name is Ivar Duserud, and I am the Chief Operating Officer of BitSpace, of BitGate, sorry. First of all, some information. This session will be recorded. We will make a video of the presentations. However, the Q&A session at the end will not be videotaped, so you don't need to worry about that. I also want to emphasize that this whole new sector of blockchain and Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are quite complicated, and it's very different from the usual finance. So if things are hard to grasp, we really understand that, and we try to make it as easy as possible to understand this whole thing. So this is our agenda. We will start by me doing an introduction of the topic, and then Manuel will do more in depth of what BitGate is, and then developer Torkel Rogstad will go more into BitGate from a more technical perspective. So that said, let's begin. So first of all, what is Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies? Bitcoin is a peer-to-peer digital currency that allows for global wire transfers without any type of middleman or third party. Bitcoin was the first of many cryptocurrencies. Now there are more than thousands of different cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin was the first one, created in 2008. Bitcoin is based on what's known as blockchain technology. And blockchain technology is the technology that allows for execution of transactions and contracts without any kind of third party. And it also allows for digital scarcity, which is very important for financial assets. Now, following the media, there are definitely a lot of different opinions about Bitcoin, but what we can say for sure is that it is really popular. Nobody forces anybody to use Bitcoin, but still Bitcoin's popularity is rising, and its adoption is increasing very fast. You can see the numbers yourself. The market cap of Bitcoin, as well as all the other cryptocurrencies, has gone from $18 billion to now more than $583 billion in the last year. Also, the 24-hour trading volume has gone from $124 million to $37 billion, which is huge. Now, ICO is also a term that's being used in this space, and it describes a new type of token sale that was not used before. It is a new way of monetization. I'm not going to go too much into it, but this new way of monetization has made sales that's surpassed the amount of funding that's been brought by tech companies from venture capital and seed stage funding. It surpassed that this summer of 2017. The biggest ICO to date, EOS, has raised more than $720 million. Peers of BitGate doing similar type of business models has raised all between $5 million to $15 million. So, short introduction to BitGate. BitGate is a platform that allows for buying and selling of Bitcoin with Norwegian kroner in an easy, secure, and compliant way. Now, through our partners, we already have a customer base of 1,000 people and expected volume of 1 million NOK per day. And this is from day one in a very rapidly growing market. The way we make money is from a margin on the buys and sells between 3 and 5%. And we also have a very low burn rate of 250,000 Norwegian crowns a month. And these are the formalities. We are raising up to 7.5 million kroner in this share issuance. I also want to emphasize that our founders have made a commitment of 500,000 Norwegian NOK in this investment round. And the funding round closes at January 31st. Then I'll play this video, which is a introduction to BitGate.
Bitcoin was invented in 2009. Since then, the number of users and transactions have increased rapidly. Bitcoin's global exchange volume is now over $700 billion worldwide, and big companies like Microsoft, Dell, and WordPress are already getting on board. Today, when you pay someone, the payment goes through a bank or payment service before it reaches the recipient. Bitcoin removes the need for middlemen, enabling direct person-to-person transactions in a trustless manner. The blockchain technology behind Bitcoin is open, decentralized, and self-regulating, and has given rise to a whole new economy based on cryptocurrencies. We call it the crypto economy. In contrast, the traditional economy and finance sector is based on closed, centralized systems regulated by law. These systems are fundamentally different, preventing frictionless interaction and resulting in a gap between the two. BitGate bridges this gap with a hybrid economy platform. Like Bitcoin, it's based on open blockchain technology, but it also enables centralized elements that allow for parts of the platform to be regulated. This allows BitGate to achieve regulatory compliance in each jurisdiction around the world. Ultimately, BitGate will connect banks, exchanges, and companies to the emerging Internet of Finance, giving end users access to a highly scalable, frictionless, and global market. BitGate enables digital national currencies, blockchain remittance, decentralized currency and asset trading, crypto finance tools and services, and intelligent wealth management. BitGate. Enter crypto finance.
And with that, I'll leave the stage to BitGate CEO, Manuel.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Manuel Lains. I'm the CEO of BitGate. As Ivar said, I'm going to go a little bit more into the background of BitGate, a little bit about who we are and why we will succeed with our platform. That's us, me and my co-founder Christian all the way to the right. We started looking into Bitcoin as a hobby and trading a little bit in 2013. Like a lot of other people, we really fell in love with the whole system. It was obvious that the technology and the implications of it was really revolutionary. And it was really difficult to keep focus on whatever other things we were doing. Pretty soon, we realized that we need to dive into this space completely. We started thinking more business-oriented, building a brand. We started going to conferences and speaking about the technology, about Bitcoin, about all the other cryptocurrencies. Back in 2013, there was around 40, 50 cryptocurrencies. And during the time that we have been involved in this space, we have seen that number go all the way up to 1,000, 2,000, and now it's really difficult to say how many tokens actually exist with all the ICOs popping up. So it's really interesting to see a lot of the ideas that we had when we got into this space about how this technology can be used. We have seen it happen. We have seen other startups with the same ideas, like just doing all this this revolutionary stuff with the technology. As for us, we also had a lot of these plans that we wanted to achieve. One of them that we focused mostly on was BitGate. We saw in 2016 there was a fintech movement or fintech wave in Oslo in Norway. We started going to these Oslo fintech events. We met Oslo Fintech and partnered up with Oslo Fintech. We pitched at the Fintech Week and we were accepted into the Fintech Factory Accelerator. That was very good for us. We got to mature. We got to understand how traditional business works. We came from the blockchain space, from the cryptocurrency space, where everything is Wild West, and we got in touch with lawyers, auditors, and different contacts in different banks, and we started to develop the business model of BitGate. It all culminated in, well, we did have an event in the autumn of 2016, Crypto Finance, where we hosted some foreign guests from the blockchain space. We hosted some Norwegian guests. We had a panel debate with a lot of interesting people, among others Lasse Meholm from DNB, and FCG was represented, and we kind of tried to spearhead the dialogue with the authorities concerning the acceptance of Bitcoin and clarity around the regulatory regime. At that time, there was still VAT on Bitcoin in Norway, which is quite, it was one of the last countries in the world to remove VAT. That happened about 3 months after our conference. So I like to think that we had something to do with it. We don't know that. So BitGate was incorporated in early 2017 as a separate company. We started getting investors into the company. We have done one funding round. We did that in the summer 2017, where the valuation was 15 million Norwegian krone. And during the year, a lot of things have happened. We have made some important partnerships that we're going to go a little bit into, and we have continued developing our business model and starting developing the product as well, a technical perspective. And Torkel is going to go more into that. I think the biggest thing we have done so far in terms of marketing and media attention is Crypto Finance 2017. BitGate was a main sponsor at that event, and that I recommend you all to go and see the live stream from that show. It's more than 6 hours, but it contains some of the most interesting, global interesting initiatives in terms of blockchain and disruptive technologies. So it's really worth a watch. As well, we got from that really nice photo. So when E24 writes about Bitcoin, very often they have the BitGate logo on the photo. That's our partner Frank from Safello in that photo, and the BitGate logo next to it. So I think we have a first mover advantage in Norway for sure, and we have a lot of traction. We have this autumn we have got interest from a lot of people, including developers and staff in general who want to work with cryptocurrencies. So we have probably more than doubled our staff the last 3-4 months. So what are we trying to do with BitGate and why? It's well, as Ivar pointed out, the market is crazy. It's really seeing an exponential growth. So our focus that we started out on when we started focusing on the cryptocurrency finance bridge. That's kind of where the focus is. So how to get cryptocurrencies into the mainstream. And what we see now is that the mainstream is really noticing Bitcoin everyone involved. We see that we are getting contacts from friends who were previously skeptical and didn't have much interest, but now we see that there's a really big movement in the mainstream, and it's about to break in. So I think position, we are really good in a good position now. We have the brand. We have a lot of people asking us when we open. So a lot of customers waiting to get in. And our main focus is to make it available to the mainstream. So it has to be easy, it has to be secure, and it has to be compliant. So when you use BitGate, you're going to feel like you're using a traditional bank. That's the goal. For scaling, there's a lot of interesting opportunities. We're working on e-money license, which will allow us to do to move towards the Internet of Finance that you saw in the video, where you can trade all kinds of assets. We're starting out with Bitcoin trading, Bitcoin to Norwegian krona as a first step, but there are a lot of different scaling opportunities, especially with the PSD2 regulation. It will allow us to do a lot of interesting things. So, hello. So, don't worry about it. So, the ultimate goal is that you have the Internet of Finance browser. Just as the web once was really difficult to use, it was unobtainable for most people. You almost needed a master degree just to be able to send an email at some point in time. Now everything is easy, and that's what we think the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency space is going to look like. It's going to be as easy as open dagbladet.no or just any web service, and that's the ultimate goal. So the Internet of Finance is kind of an open, decentralized version of the core banking system or the old financial institutions, which are very slow and cumbersome, especially when dealing with overseas transactions and international global finance. So it's an ambitious goal, but we are always assessing what is going on in the market. We are very focused on being agile. So whatever happens in the cryptocurrency markets, things change very quickly, and we need to always be ready to pivot to the easiest and the most profitable way to go. So what we see right now is that there's an opportunity in Norway. We don't have a good system for trading bitcoins in Norway, so that's what we do first. It's a very simple. One would think it's a very simple thing to buy and sell bitcoins, but there's a lot of work required. We're working very closely with the lawyers and our auditors to make sure that we do things right. There have been some attempts at doing this in Norway, but they have encountered several problems because they have not done the right steps beforehand. And of course, there is a lot of scaling opportunities that involve really huge markets. So whichever one of these we would focus on in the coming years, there's definitely big opportunities there. So what are the risks? Of course, there are some risks. We are working actively to analyze all the risks and act appropriately. Regulation is, of course, something that a lot of people are worried about, and precisely that reason we have frequent dialogue with our lawyers to use their international network. We're working with DLA Piper, so they are the biggest law firm in the world, and they have offices all around the world. They are researching what is the development around the world, because whatever comes to Norway in terms of regulation, it will come from abroad. That's how it goes. When the European Union does something, then we follow. So we are always trying to be in front. We're always trying to do more than we have to. Bitcoin is still not regulated in Norway, but we're working very hard to implement KYC, anti-money laundering routines to make sure that the day that the regulations come in, then we're really well positioned to become regulated in this space. There's always the competition, but in Norway we have a really good network effect. We have a first mover advantage, and I think that it's safe to say that we have the biggest traction in Norway right now. Of course, there is the off chance that a big bank would try to copy what we do and try to push it out quicker. That's something that will always be there, but in that sense we're positioning ourselves to be more, if a big bank wants to go into this, it would make more sense for them to try to get involved with BitGate or buy BitGate. When the banks do it, we expect that there will be several banks trying at the same time, and there will be a race to be first. The costs, as I mentioned before, we have a lot of people who just want to work in the space. They want to be involved in any way possible, and for that reason, we don't have to be competitive in terms of salaries. We actually have very low salaries in the company, and we're very moderate when it comes to spending money. So we have quite a low burn rate that Ivar showed, is 250,000 per month, and that will allow us to become profitable already within the first few months of operating. Liquidity risk, we are an over-the-counter buying and selling Bitcoin service, so we do have the liquidity in our own books, Norwegian krona and Bitcoin. So it means that we need to assess, of course, the risk of being exposed to the wrong value, and getting the order book emptied. We are going to use the beta phase that we start up within first quarter to analyze with the cautious limits for buying and selling, and slowly ramping it up. We're going to analyze what are the effects on the liquidity of the platform, and whether we need to set up some automated bridge for arbitrage between maybe a big European exchange like Bitstamp. We have a few solutions there, and we're going to continuously work on that to lower the liquidity risk. Torkel will also talk about some other ways that we are assessing this challenge. And of course, we might be in a situation where we lose some vital team members, so we're constantly making sure that there is no function in the company which is covered solely by one person. We always want to have at least 2-3 people who know the same things to have redundancy, and also it's of course good in a security critical application to have more eyes on the same parts of the operation. A little bit about how we use the funds. As I said, we are going to be profitable very quickly. There are a lot of customers that are ready to sign up through our partners, and with that number, with about 1 million NOK trading volume per day and a margin of between 3% and 5%, we can take quite a big margin, because over-the-counter sale is something that there's not very much competition in that market. So we'll be able to actually break even more or less from day one with the current burn rate that we have. We're going to use the funds mostly for product development, but also as a big chunk of it is going towards the legal side of it, and that's something that we need to do to lower the risks associated with regulation, and just make sure that we don't do anything wrong. This is a very new territory. It's currently being explored, and we're also pushing the limits of what is possible to do in Norway and in general. So we need to have we need to focus on that aspect as well. In terms of marketing, we have a very good machinery for marketing. As I explained, the crypto finance that is hosted by the mother company, and we don't need to expend a lot of funds on that. So finish off, I'm going to just show a little bit of who we are. As I mentioned, me and Christian were the founders. Christian is not able to be here today. He's returning from a blockchain conference in Poland. He's a philosopher and a technology futurist. So we complement each other very well. I have a background as an electrical engineer, so I'm more into the technical, hands-on part of the business, while he's more the one who sees the big technology trends and is able to help us position correctly. We have a great management team. I'm not going to go too much into detail, but of course, if any of you want to hear more about it, I'll be glad to explain everything in detail. We have a big crew of developers, a lot of people that we hired this autumn. Torkel is going to talk later. I can also mention Fredrik, the guy in the middle there. He has been working on a blockchain project for a customer, where he basically, together with a few other team members, set up a custom blockchain. So we actually have experience with creating blockchains. That's not. I don't think that many companies can say that so far. And in terms of advisors, bank, legal, blockchain, we are very lucky to have Lasse Meholm on our advisory board. We're working closely with DNB on several issues and trying to walk the path together with them in terms of how to do cryptocurrency business in Norway. And I also want to highlight some of our strategic partners, especially Signicat and Safello. Very, very valuable partners for us. These people have, Signicat is the one who offers bank ID to us in Norway, but they also have a network all over Europe where they have solutions in many different countries. And for our expansion plans to Europe, it makes sense to go with this partnership and start up in different places. Safello as well, they have fiat currencies. They have a system for banking in all of Europe. They support all national currencies in Europe. So we have a letter of intention of partnership, and we're also working on the finalized partnership deals these days. We are really optimistic on the prospect of going abroad together with these two companies. Chainalysis, Safello is a Swedish company, by the way. Chainalysis is a Danish company. It's world leading in terms of anti-money laundering analysis of the blockchain. So figuring out if bitcoins are tainted, if they come from illegal activities. That's very much in focus nowadays. I think the Norwegian police are also working with Chainalysis, so they are definitely the obvious choice for us to go with them. And although, as I said, Bitcoin is not regulated, we still want to be in the forefront, so we're going to do complete analysis of everything that's going on our platform and assess the risk associated with the activities. We also have good partners in the blockchain space. I'm not going to go too much into that now. I think I'm running a little bit over time. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Torkel Rogstad. He's going to do a little bit of deep dive into BitGate platform. So
thank you, Manuel.
Your stage is yours.
Thank you. Yes, hello. My name is Torkel Rogstad. I'm a developer on the BitGate platform. I have a few years of experience in blockchain technology. And yeah, with me today is also Thomas Fleming in the back of the audience. He's one of our more senior developers. He's worked on for more than 20 years as a full stack developer. For example, on the Norwegian Stock Exchange, Nordea, one of Scandinavia's biggest banks, and also Telia, one of Scandinavia's biggest mobile phone operators. Here you can see a few sketches of how the BitGate platform will look from the user interface perspective. These are one of many sketches we develop in-house continuously. What's been done so far? Well, first of all, we're integrating our partners and service providers into our platform. We've been taking some difficult and tough platform architecture design choices, and also been doing lots of product design and product development. Manuel mentioned some of our partners. These are some others. Safello has been mentioned. They provide KYC and AML services for us, as well as banking relationships. Safello offers not only Norwegian kroner handling, but also the euro, the English pound, and also a large amount of other European currencies. BitGo is a leading provider in the space of securing digital assets. Several of the biggest foreign Bitcoin exchanges use BitGo to secure their assets. BitGo employs what's called multi-signature technology. What this means is you give the keys to spend the Bitcoin to several people. And in our case, it's 3 different people. 2 of those people have to approve of the transaction for it to go through. This ensures that no single person in the company can go rogue and steal customer assets. BankID, as you all know, they offer verification and compliance, identification of customers. They are really among the world's most efficient providers of secure identification. Chainalysis, they were touched upon. Chainalysis, they constantly monitor and analyze the Bitcoin blockchain. For every single Bitcoin transaction going to and from the BitGate platform, Chainalysis can give a score of that transaction. They can say how likely is it to come from a nefarious source, and if someone sends Bitcoin to us coming from a nefarious source, we will take action. We can investigate and we can stop them from selling their Bitcoin. If the insurance provider they insure our assets, both the Norwegian kroner part and the Bitcoins. So in the unlikely event that something were to happen, customer assets would not be affected. We also taken some platform choices. On the front end, we're developing with a combination of React and Redux, written in TypeScript. React and Redux are modern and agile technologies for developing graphical user interfaces. React is being developed by Facebook and being used in developing Facebook, and it's one of the most battle-tested platforms out there. TypeScript is a variation of JavaScript. It's being developed by Microsoft, and it's being heralded as a more sustainable way of developing large-scale, complex JavaScript applications. On the back end, we're writing also JavaScript. We're using the Node.js runtime engine, more or less the standard runtime engine for using JavaScript on the back end. We're using the Express framework for drawing out the back-end application, and we're also using PostgreSQL for our database needs. All of these technologies are modern, lean, and robust. They allow us to pivot quickly, to change parts of the platform, and also, most importantly, they're all technologies being used on a daily basis in high-value production environments. We're not going into uncharted territory when it comes to technology choices. We have a microservice-oriented modular design. This means that we can separate different parts of our platform out into distinct modules. We can have a KYC module, we can have a payments module, we can have a wallet module. If we want to change something in a platform, we can simply snag out one module and put into a new one without affecting the rest of the platform. This allows us to be highly scalable, both when it comes to the development process of building a more and more complex application, but also scaling the performance of our application. We can easily add more servers or add more infrastructure at certain point or to a certain module in the platform. The BitGate MVP, minimum viable product user experience, is centered all around buying and selling Bitcoin. You can roughly separate those two into 2 aspects, either investing in Bitcoin, going into long-term positions, or trading Bitcoin. When you go into a long-term position in Bitcoin, one of the biggest hurdles for mainstream users is secure custody of assets. How do I ensure my Bitcoin is not stolen from me? By hacking, or theft, or fraud. BitGate will employ the leading technologies being used in the industry to secure that the customer assets will never be stolen. When it comes to trading, one of the big problems is, how do I comply with law? How much tax should I pay? Is there tax on Bitcoin at all? How do I keep track of my gains and losses? As Manuel mentioned, we want to be ahead of the curve when it comes to regulations. We will offer information to our customers about how much tax should be paid. We will also have tools for generating reports about gains and losses. This is all about buying and selling Bitcoin in an easy, secure, and compliant way. And what's the competitive advantage? There are several factors differentiating us from our peers. Also being mentioned earlier is the compliance and professionalism part. Several people have tried to start up similar businesses in Norway. They have either failed or met great challenges along the way for various reasons. We move more slowly because when we launch our product, we want to be able to stick around for a long time. We have a Norwegian tailor-made product. We have Norwegian-speaking staff support. We can offer a Norwegian interface. We can offer a Norwegian bank account to send money to. And of course, also knowledge about the Norwegian law space. If you want to buy Bitcoin at one of our competitors, there's a great amount of friction, both in payments and compliance. You often have to send passports abroad. You have to send a copy of your utility bill. And you also have to send an international bank wire. To most of you, I would guess sending an international bank wire is easy. But for a normal person, for a person not involved in finance, sending an international bank wire is a scary prospect. Of course, secure custody of customer Bitcoins. That's been a big risk for Bitcoin exchanges from the very start. We will, as I mentioned, employ the best practices found across the industry. I would say the biggest differentiating factor for the BitGate platform is the fastest onboarding process on the market. If you want to buy Bitcoin today, you would have to wait at least several days, maybe even several weeks at a foreign exchange. The average verification speed with Bank ID is 28 seconds. This means that people can go onto the BitGate platform and 3 minutes later have Bitcoin. That's orders of magnitude faster than anyone else on the market. There's few competitors in our niche. The streamlined, over-the-counter experience ready for mainstream adoption. Ensuring liquidity. This is, of course, a big risk in any trading facility. If you're trading metals or Bitcoins or stocks or whatever, you have to be liquid. To counter this, we have developed a custom price algorithm. This starts out by taking into price data from the markets. We then also take market movements and market volume into account. But most importantly, it takes into account our current holdings of Bitcoin and our current holdings of Norwegian kroner. If we start to run low on Bitcoin, we can adjust the price of Bitcoin upwards accordingly. And if we run low on Norwegian kroner, we can adjust the price of Bitcoin down accordingly. This will both incentivize people to not buy any more Bitcoin, but also to sell Bitcoin to us, ensuring that we will always have assets available to customers. We will have a slow exponential increase or decrease. So at the very extremes, the price will go up and down by large amounts, ensuring that people can always buy and sell Bitcoin on the BitGate platform. As Manuel mentioned, we will consider establishing a liquidity bridge to foreign exchanges. Many foreign exchanges expose what we call a programmable API. This means that we can make a computer program making automatic buys and sells at those foreign exchanges if we start to run low on either Bitcoin or Norwegian kroner. This is fairly easy from a technical perspective, and also transferring Bitcoin from a foreign exchange to the BitGate platform can be done in a matter of hours. When it comes to further development, expanding the currency pairs available is an obvious choice, and more currency pairs are coming. The infrastructure is in place. BitGo handles not only Bitcoin, but also Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, several of the major cryptocurrencies. We can easily swap out our infrastructure for Bitcoin with something that supports Bitcoin and many other currencies. We will make this decision based on market demand, based on liquidity in the coin being talked about, and of course also how available is the coin to us. We have to buy the coin first before we sell it to our customers. And when you are in the cryptocurrency space, there's lots of hype. There are lots of coins being pumped at a given point in time, and we will not buy into these short-term hype cycles. We will look at cryptocurrencies offering more long-term value propositions to our customers and make decisions with a long-term perspective in mind. International operations is also a big scaling opportunity. Majority of the platform can and will be reused for this purpose. As I mentioned earlier, the modular design allows us to take some part of the platform out and put something else in. In this case, this is the local ID solutions and local payment solutions. When it comes to local ID solutions, Signicat has solutions in several major European markets. They have full KYC and AML compliance in 6 countries. Those 6 countries have a population of over 100 million people. Furthermore, they have partial compliance in 5 more countries. And those 5 countries have a population of 140 million people. From a coding perspective, this is changing one line of code to change from Norway to another country in which Signicat offers solutions. When it comes to local payment solutions, we're closely monitoring the development of the PSD2 European Union Directive. PSD2 liberates financial data from the banks. And if a customer of a given bank wants to give someone else access to those funds, they can grant the access to BitGate. And then BitGate can act as an interface for not only cryptocurrencies, but also bank assets, commodities, property, stocks, more or less anything financially related. With the e-money license, we can issue national currency. We can issue these currencies on the blockchain and utilize the efficiencies of blockchain technology, allowing for trading 24 hours a day, 364 days a year. We will also offer a merchant integration and Bitcoin account part of the BitGate platform. Most Bitcoin exchanges offer only the buying and selling of Bitcoin, not using Bitcoin as an everyday currency. With the BitGate platform, you can send, receive, pay, and get paid in Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. This applies, of course, locally and globally. If I want to send Bitcoin to someone in this room or to send Bitcoin to someone in Indonesia, that's no different. When it comes to merchant solutions, we will offer tools for merchants to accept Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies at their points of sale. We will have invoicing tools, tax report tools, of course, secure custody of of merchant assets, and also a big part is offering our KYC and AML competence in our KYC AML platform to our merchants. As Manuel talked about, we want to be part of the emerging Internet of Finance, and the BitGate blockchain is relevant in this case. Blockchain technology allows for transactions and contracts without the third party. This is really what blockchain is all about. So then you have the open, decentralized crypto economy, and you have the closed, centralized traditional economy. We want to be able to bridge that gap with the BitGate blockchain. What we're really talking about here is being a central part of the emerging open global core banking system, allowing for the frictionless exchange between Bitcoin and Norwegian kroner on the blockchain, and gold on the blockchain, and oil on the blockchain. We could be leveraging the current state of art of the blockchain technology. For those of you familiar with the terminology, that might mean delegated proof of stake, it might mean side chains, it might mean drive chain. My point here is that we will not commit to a certain technology now, but constantly assess what's going on in the markets and what's the current best solution. We can expand beyond cryptocurrencies, and a natural starting point with the e-money license is digital NOK and digital fiat currencies on the blockchain, giving the traditional currencies the properties of a cryptocurrency, openness and constant operations. We believe this has the potential to seriously disrupt the remittance and B2B remittance industries. You connect people directly, peer-to-peer, and you remove the need for a middleman. When we also issue not only Norwegian kroner, but also dollar or euro or yen, this can heavily disrupt the forex markets. Expanding beyond this, you can issue arbitrary assets on the blockchain. You can have commodities, gold, oil, etc. And you can also issue stocks on the blockchain. Again, this is all about taking the properties of the new crypto economy, openness, transparency, decentralization, and merging this with the traditional economy. This was all I had to say about the BitGate platform. I thank you for your time, and I now give the word back to Ivar Duserud.